So yeah, why don't you start by, why don't we talk a bit about what is working from home like for you, and maybe a little more about what your job, you know, was and how that kind of transitioned to working from home.
So I'm based here in Los Angeles. I work in marketing strategy for a theme park here. We have now been working from home for almost 10 weeks now. And now we're just in a good rhythm, and we figured out there's certain things that we should still maintain, and then there's certain things where it's just not a priority.
When you talk about things that you could keep up versus things you couldn't, and I imagine working in marketing in theme parks, like part of it is experiencing the park. How have you approached that kind of specific, unique challenge?
Our entire plan for the year is now completely changed. And I think at first the mindset was, okay, if we're only going to be closed maybe for a couple weeks, because that's what we knew at the time, we'll be able to pivot and reset and maybe get back to our original plans. And now that our closure has been, now for more than 10 weeks, it's really like our entire messaging and how we connect to consumers, and then how we reopen the park, and also what our product is, needs to be reshaped with like how we go back to the market.
We're all talking about there's no right answers yet, and it's all kind of a lot of it's still speculative. And
Right.
I have a few follow-up questions. One I was going to ask about, and this is similar, like we have partners that are museums that are, I think, struggling with some of the same things. How are you finding, like, working through that line of what's appropriate messaging, like as far as keeping yourselves on the minds of all of the, the people that come to the parks while, again, maintaining appropriateness in that?
So I think at the end of the day, theme park, we are in the business of selling fun. That's what we do for a couple hours or a full day or a weekend and whatnot. People get to, I just call it, like, leave their troubles at the door, come inside our doors and have fun, and hopefully create memories with their family or friends that they will remember for the rest of their lives. And so we can't do that right now in person. But I think for us, it's okay, we can still do stuff that is fun and that allows people who are stuck at home, quarantined, a little frustrated, a little nervous, a little scared, to, I think, escape from that for just a moment. And so it's been thinking about, like, okay, how do we bring our brand and our sense of fun to them? So whether it's been recipes, like our fun food, drink, cocktail recipes that people can execute at home, like arts and crafts projects, watch parties like with us on social media. So it's definitely been, different for us, and you have to be creative, and it's really on our social media team that is executing a lot of this, but hopefully it's helping people even for just, half an hour.
I also wanted to ask a bit about talking about reopening and how do you approach when that happens, and how are you guys dealing with being a place that is designed and is about bringing joy, but that kind of now has a scary connotation in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are some ways that you're managing that?
Safety is now probably the most, valued product aspect. And yes, we are an industry that I think thrives on people interacting and people having fun. And of course, from a business standpoint, you want your parks filled to, pretty much not necessarily ultimate capacity, because then it's not as much of a great guest experience when the park is so busy and lines are so long. You don't see as much positive advocacy. I feel like in a way we are maybe fortunate compared to some other industries, because we can keep people moving through a park. Big thing is social distancing, and there are queues or in rides itself, and you can keep people moving and doing everything we can to reduce contact. And I think for some people, there is a lot of pent-up demand. They cannot wait to go do something, an activity, get outside, feel normal again, maybe celebrate some kind of like life event that they missed out on during quarantine. But then there's going to be other people that say, no way, this is not for me for a couple weeks or a couple months. And I think that is such a personal choice. But hopefully, you know, when our doors are open, we'll be there for people when they do want to have fun again.
When you talk about regionality, I'm sure that lots of people travel to go to your parks. How are you planning on managing that with, like, maybe California, where your park isn't in the same place as a big part of your audience is that wants to come visit?
So one, that definitely depends on those external factors, right? Like, do they give sign off, and who is allowed to come to the theme parks? That's also, I think, going to be a very personal choice for people of when and how they travel again. Because I think for the average person, it's going to be, one, is it safe? Do I feel safe getting on a plane or even getting in a car, staying in a hotel, Airbnb, like, you know, even just a weekend getaway, a day trip, you know, the usual typical family vacation might for the summer is going to look very different this year. But then two, we are an industry that is dependent on people having disposable income. We are not a cheap date. So when you think about that, there's 40 million people that are currently unemployed in our country, that is also going to be a challenge for our industry and so many other industries that are dependent on disposable income, people who are looking to spend their time and share of wallet in a certain way.
Do you have a weirdest or funniest, like a specific story, like just from
some of us from work, you know, all different levels, we're talking about, yeah, like, how are you like passing the time in quarantine? And the notion of like video games came up. Some people were talking about how they're playing a lot of Animal Crossing. Someone who's very high up said like, oh, I'm playing, you know, and he said to someone else, like, you know, you and I should like we'll connect, or like I'll friend you. And this other guy who's much different level was like, great, sounds good. And so 2 days later, this guy gets a request from someone named Daddy. And they texted me and they were like, oh my God, like who would message me this? Like, oh gosh, I thought this game was safe, but you know, just creepers that are trying to find me. And like, we were just laughing, you know, just such a weird thing to get a request on Animal Crossing from someone named Daddy. And all of a sudden it hit us that this person named Daddy was this very high level executive. And he has no idea that his children, I don't think is a joke, but they truly just like gave him the screen name of Daddy, is going around and requesting to his much, much lower level subordinates, come play a video game with Daddy. So my friend has still not accepted that request because he's like, I can't get around playing with this executive named Daddy. So that just had me like in tears. I was just laughing so hard of that would not have happened before quarantine, and just something so funny of something so innocent and this executive that has no idea. So that made me laugh.
him being totally unawares and like,
Totally.
I could get why he can believe that because it's like a kiddie. It looks like a kid's game. I mean, it is like initially designed that way, but I know tons of friends that play it. I played it back the original. I haven't dabbled. I feel like I've missed the boat already. I didn't get it right when it came out, so my island will like never be good enough at this point. But I can see how that would work, and I think there would be some pressure too to a subordinate that he could either really impress this person and maybe climb the ladder if he has a great island, or that could become just like a judgmental thing too. I don't know. It's like high risk.
Yeah, when the light bulb went off, when we figured it out, we were like, Daddy? Like, just burst out laughing. And yeah, this executive is the kindest, nicest guy. And he said his kids set up the game for him. And so he's totally clueless.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Meghan. It's been great talking. Yeah, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for reaching out, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks so much, Meghan.